Good evening. Thank you very much for joining me. My name is Susan Pine and I'm a Senior Access Developer with IT Impact in Chicago. I started the Access User Group for beginners late last year. We've just had 2 classes so far. The first one was just covering the basics of Access, going over its objects and the general uses of Access. And then the second class, we went through creating tables and designing your database structure. Tonight, what I'd like to go over is importing data into Access from other data sources. So you see here in this folder, I have my Access database and I have 3 different file formats which I would like to pull into the database. They're all going to go into the same table. So if I open this database, see, I've already got a table data import, but what I'm actually going to do is my first import, I'm going to create a new table from that. And then with the subsequent tables, I will append the data to that table. So the one tab that we're going to use today is the external data. You'll see here in this section, we have the import and linked section and the export. Import and linked is what we're going to focus on tonight. The import is when you're actually pulling data in from another source and pulling it into a table within your Access database. The linking is when you're going to connect to tables in another data source, but not necessarily pull the information in here. So say, for example, if you've got an Access database that's going to be shared with multiple users, you could split the database into what we call a front end and a back end. The front end would have all the forms, reports, queries, and each user would have a copy of that on their own computers. The back end is where we would store the tables, and then the tables would be just linked to each of the Access front end versions. So in general, you've just got one back end file, which would be stored on a network drive or a server that can be accessed by all the users. And then each of the users would have their own individual front-end file. Okay, so let's have a look at the different kinds of data sources that you can connect to. So here from a file, you'll see we have Excel, HTML. If you just hover over here, it will give you an information of where this type of file you can connect to. The text file, this will work for a CSV or a comma delimited file. Then we have the database. This is where you can connect to pull data in from another Access database or link the tables. You can connect to SQL Server. That would be linking the tables to SQL Server, and that is when you've got multiple users. We do have a Access with SQL Server group. They are on the second Tuesday of the month and managed by Juan Soto. He's the president of IT Impact. And he does some great talks there. He's an expert on connecting Access with SQL Server. Then we have the Azure database, which is very similar to the SQL. And then there are lots of online sources. So say for Dynamics 365, Salesforce, data services, even connect to your Outlook folders. And you can pull data in from Outlook emails. Okay, so let's start tonight and we'll just pull in some information from Excel into a new table. So I'm just going to select Excel. It's just defaulted here to my documents folder, but I'm going to click on the browse button now to select the file location that I want to pull in. And here it is, import file 2. Okay, open. Now I have to decide what I want to do with this data. Do I want to import it? Do I want to append it to an existing table or link the data source? In this case, I'm going to import the data and create a new table. So I'll just leave that first one highlighted and say OK. Now it's reading the data that's in my Excel file. It's identified that the first row could be the column headings. If you don't have column headings and it's actually all data, you can uncheck that and it just treats that first row as the first column. But in my case, they are actually the headings. I will check that box again. I do have a file that I'm going to use without headings, so you can see how that works. Just say next. Okay, so now it's showing me all my columns and it's asking me to define the data type for each of these columns. In this case, date is a date with time. Access will have a good guess at what each data type is, but you can modify it if it doesn't meet with your requirements. The account, it's showing that double, but actually accounts, I prefer them to be string values, so I'm going to change that to short text. The suffix is double, that's fine. Count as double, that's fine. Average balance is actually currency, so I'm just going to change that to currency. And the balance as well, I want that to be currency. Now, if there's a column in your data that you don't actually want to be pulled in, you can quite easily select the column and click on the Do Not Import field, and that will skip that in the import process. In my case, I want everything to be pulled in, so I'll uncheck that. And then I select Next. Now it's saying, what do you want to do about creating a primary key? Because it is important that we use a primary key in our database. So I'm going to let Access add a primary key, and it'll just call it ID, and then it'll just auto number each row. That's fine. If you do have a field that you want to specify, say for example, you've got some products and they have a product code and you want to use your product code as the primary key, then you can do that. It is better to use a numeric value for the primary key rather than a string text. Okay, so let's say next again. And now it's saying, where do you want to import it to? Here it's just taken the name of the Excel spreadsheet, but I'm going to take that TBL import. That. And then I'll just say finish. Do I want to save the import steps? No, not in this case, but if you are regularly importing the same structured file into your database, either from Excel or a text file, and it's going into the same table, you can save the import steps, and that way you can even use that in VBA code to automate the import of the data. I'll just say close there. And now if we open this up, you'll see now I have a new table called TBL import. If I double click on there, you will see my data and it's being pulled in. And here's the ID. Okay, so now we've got that table created. I'm going to now select another file. This time from the text file. And this time I'm going to actually append it to that file that I've just created, which is down here. Okay. Oh, I didn't select the file, sorry. Okay, this time we'll use this one, the CSV file. We're going to append that, say open. Okay. Now in this case, you see my data, this doesn't actually have column headings. So it's asking me, first of all, is this a delimited field type, or is it set fixed widths for the columns? In my case, it's a delimited, and I am using the comma to identify the column breaks. So we'll leave that as delimited. Say next. Here it's saying what it specifies your column break, and as I mentioned, it was a comma. Access has identified that and made the correct choice. If it doesn't, and you have something else that you're using, you can just select it. You can even say other, and you can actually paste in what particular symbol you're using for your break. Okay, so just select comma. Here it's asking me if my first row contains field name. So if I click this now, it's taken that first row actually thinking it's the column name. So I'll uncheck that. We don't have any there. And we don't need any text qualifiers. Sometimes you may have quote marks around text values. But in here, we don't have anything. So I'll just leave it as none. We have an advanced section here. Just go into that. And this is just where you can go in and you can specify particular item, what columns you want to skip, the field types that you want to apply to them. So if I select date, okay, month, day, year, the account, and then once you've done this, you can actually save the specs. You click Save As, import specification, say OK, and that would just save the specifications that you've set. So again, that can be used in VBA code to import data on a regular basis. Not going to worry about that today. Maybe do something more with that in an advanced course. And now I'll just click on Next. Here I selected the table that I'm going to import to and just finish. So now it's working away. You can see there it's running and saving the data. That's done. Close. We have actually got some errors here, so we'll look at those in a moment. But as you can see now, data is really, look at the amount of data we got on, and it was really quick to bring that information in. That's good. That went well there. Now there are other ways that you can pull your data into. Instead of selecting the file, there's the regular copy and paste. So if I just open this table, data import, and I'm going to go back to my Excel file here, open this. And what I'm going to do now is just select all the data. So I've clicked in the first cell of the sheet. I'm going to hold down my Shift and Control key, press the down arrow to go to the last row, and then the right arrow to get all the columns. And you see now all my data is selected. I press Control and C now to copy that data and go back to Access. And I'm just going to select in this top left-hand corner, this grey button here, and just click on there and it highlights all of my table. I right-click now and select Paste. It's going to tell me I'm about to append to paste 96 records here. Do I want to do that? Yes, please. And now that data has been copied in there. One thing you must remember when you're doing a copy and paste, if you just look at my table here, go to the top. Where's my access? Okay, so you can see I've got date, account, suffix, ACC, average balance, and balance. My columns must always be in the same order as they are shown in the access table. Otherwise, if you've got your columns mixed up, then your data is going to be pasted into the wrong location. Also, we do have the ID here. You'll notice I don't include that here in this information because that's an auto key. You can't put data into that field. Access will apply the key for that field automatically. I'm just going to close that. No, I don't need that information. Okay, and there was one more file that we had to import. It was the TXT document, and that is very similar to the CSV file. Okay, this time we're going to append that one to the data import. Okay. Okay, you see here we've got an error message. Mistake I made is that my table is open that I'm wanting to paste the data into. So it's saying, do I want access to save changes and close the table? Yes, it can. I haven't really changed anything. I've just copied and pasted information there. So that's fine. And now what it did, it closed the table for me. So if you are going to pull data in, you need to make sure that your table is closed beforehand. Otherwise, you will get prompted by Access to save and close the field table. Okay, so again, this time, it's saying, is it a delimited or a fixed width? If you notice this time, I don't have any commas in this database, in this file. It's actually a fixed width. So I'm going to select the fixed width, click on Next, and now I need to create my breakpoints where my columns are. So you'll see I have one. This is really, okay. I'm going to have one column here. Oh, I've put too many in. Just let me click cancel. Let's go again. I'm going to append this one. Oh, select my file. Open. Okay, we're going to. This file is actually looking a bit strange to me. Could be an error in my file. Because when I say fixed width here, it wants to be there. Say one there. It doesn't look right to me. My suffix. See the data, you see it's all out of line. Let's just cancel this. I think that's an error with that file. That's a bad file to show. Let me open this up and see what it looks like. Okay, so yeah, it's a fixed width. My headings are off. So we've got the date. This is the account. The account needs to be here. This is the suffix account, average balance. just unbalance. Okay, you see this is, we've got some columns that are out. I'm not going to, this is a bad file because what we should have are all our columns in the same position. So if I tab here, and again here, here, here. I'm not going to do all of it. Let's just go to here, and what I'll do is delete the rest of this file for tonight. See there, it's all in order. That's all fine there. Seems the earlier rows. Okay, that was all fine. So let's take all this out. There is okay. Don't actually need all this information. So let me slip it to the start. Take this out. Okay, delete all this. So these are my columns and my balance needs to be in line there. Okay, that's looking better now. So we've got the dates in the column, the account, suffix, count, average balance. Okay, save this file. Close. You see, you don't always get your data so clean when you want to import it. Sometimes you have to do a bit of work on it to straighten everything out. So let's try and import that now. It should look better. Select my file. It's a third file. And again, we're going to append it to the tables, this one. Okay, now I select fixed width. Didn't adjust it like I would have liked, but let's try now. The first column is here. All right, over to 10. That's the date. And again, it has pushed everything over. If we say delimited, that's what it's using. It's a delimited file and it is using the tab as the space. Okay, that's what we should have done. Say next. Go back. I didn't select the first row has called. Field names. Say next. Where it's going and finish. Okay, it's saying the average balance does not exist in the destination table data import. Okay. And it wasn't imported. So let's go back. Because I changed this, let's say advanced here. And my table was, let's go back again. Okay, we had a problem there that okay, so let's put it back to average balance on that file. So it didn't recognize the file name, the table name. Sorry, not the table name, the column name. I'd made a change on that, so let's just save that and close it. Try again. Okay, I left it open again, yes. Wonderful. That time it worked. Now if we open this table, we'll see we have a lot more data that's been pulled in. Notice it's not got the date in. Okay. And it's put in suffix here, which is bad. It seems to have put the suffix should be here. Okay, so the way to do this is to select the first row where we were, go to the daisy. I'm going to delete the data. Okay, so we know where there's no date, we know it's bad data. So I'm going to click a field, empty field in the date and say equals blank. So that's filtered my data now onto the data that I've just imported. Click in the top right-hand corner to select all and just hit the delete button. I'm going to delete 399 records. Yes. Now if I clear my filter, I'm with my original data in there. So that file was clearly a bad example. It had some bad data in there, plus I'd messed about with it a bit. So let's have a look at these import errors that we got and why were they being created? Okay, this is saying type conversion for ID, null value in ID. Not sure if that's from which file this was. Import file 1. This is from the Excel spreadsheet that I imported. It's saying which row was bad. Let's just have a look at that table, see if we notice anything strange. You see, there was something wrong with the date field. Didn't like the date field and it hasn't been pulled in. That was when I was importing one of the text files. That was this one. It does have a date in. Let's just try that one more time. Okay. Now just go back to my Access on this table. The CSV file. The Access wasn't this one, it was the CSV file. So let me just cancel there. This one. And to append it to. Maybe when I appended it, I was missing something. Okay. Yes. Yes. Just close that. Okay, delimited. Next. Identified locations. Okay, well, I'm going to go back. Because I went in here, didn't I? Okay, so ID. We're going to skip. Date. We want account. We want suffix. Actual. Average balance. So we've got date, count, suffix, ACC, average balance, and we are missing the balance column. Okay. Next. Finish. Still got some errors coming up there. Conversion type on the date. Maybe I didn't have the date set properly. Let's have a look at the table. Yeah, again, I choose this table, didn't I? Okay, so what is happening here? Let me just try importing that file into its own new table and see what we get. This is going to be the date. This was suffix. So remember that name. We'll leave these as the field names for now. Just want to check on the data pulling in. Access add a primary key. File 1, okay, finish. Okay, I didn't give a very good name to my table, but it was just to test. Okay, so now there it's pulled it in and it's fine. So we got it in fine that way. Sometimes you have to play around with your data, find the best method to pull the data in. We could then run an access query to update a table and pass this information over. Or we could do, if it'd let me do this, I copy the columns. Okay, yeah, there's a lot of data in there, so I won't do that now. This could take forever to copy and paste. But that's just giving you some ideas on the basics of importing data into Access. As I mentioned, then we have the ability to link tables, and I'll just show you quickly how we can do that. So I'm just going to select any Access database in my files. Okay, let's say this one will work. Okay, say open, and I'm going to link the tables. Okay, and now it's showing me a link of the list of the tables that are in that file that I selected. So if I just select View the tables. Okay, these are the tables I want to link to. Say OK. And then you'll see these tables have appeared here at the bottom, but they have this arrow to the left, and that's just to identify that it is a linked table. It's not pulled in directly into Access. If you hover over the table, it will tell you exactly which file it is linked to, so you can know where the location of where that file is coming from. Okay, well, that's all for tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. Next week, we'll move on to, not sure yet, probably on to creating some queries or forms and getting you started on building your own database. So thank you very much for your time, and look forward to meeting again next month. Good evening.